After graduating from the Naval Academy, where he played football and was commissioned as a surface warfare officer, Jesse Iwuji took a path that no one thought was possible. Sitting on his bed one day, he decided he was going to become a NASCAR driver. The only problem was he didn't grow up racing, nor did he have the connections, experience, or money everyone told him he needed to get started. But as you'll quickly see from this conversation, Jesse refused to let someone else's opinion of him become his reality. He has since gone on to fulfill his vision of becoming a professional driver, while also starting several companies along the way. Jesse is one of the most inspirational people you'll meet. I have to warn you, though, his story might just motivate you to chase a dream everyone else said was impossible. Most people you talk to when transitioning out of the military have never actually transitioned out themselves. You're probably getting a bunch of opinions from people who plan on staying in until retirement and have no idea how to actually show empathy for your situation. This podcast is about providing fresh perspectives and a front row seat for conversations with successful veterans doing big things after leaving the military. Jesse, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. We appreciate you making the time to jump on here. We'll keep things quick and efficient. We started this podcast because Jack and I both got out of the Army and realized there's a lot to be desired for the process of how that goes down.
Yeah.
And the opportunities that people kind of default into after they leave the service.
Yeah.
And needless to say, you've taken a really interesting route, have shown that literally anything is possible as you transition from service, and would love to just give people a brief glimpse into that through a conversation here. So I love the fact that I played football in college as well, not an academy, but you mentioned you didn't play football. I heard in a previous conversation you didn't play football until like middle school. Is that right?
Yeah. Middle school. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you go from no football until middle school to playing at a Division I school successfully? I mean, it seems that's probably the theme throughout your life is not having done things for a while and then somehow doing it at the top level very quickly afterwards.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all a process, right? So, for me, I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Both of my parents, they came from Nigeria. They immigrated back in like the 80s. My dad came in like 1980 or something like that. He got his education here in the US, went back to Nigeria, married my mom, brought her back here. And then they decided to settle in Dallas. And in Texas, football is king. So I had always liked football, always thought it was cool, but my parents were working really hard all the time. They didn't have a lot of time to put us in like little league anything. So the only kind of practice at all that I got for football was basically anything I did outside with my friends. So we tossed the football around a little bit, and then seventh grade came around, and finally it was my opportunity to finally play organized sports. So football was the first sport up for that year. So I started playing. My first position I was playing was running back. I didn't know anything about the running back position. So my dad at home, he basically told me, hey, watch this guy on TV for the Cowboys. He's really good at playing running back. You could probably learn a lot by just watching him. And that guy was Emmitt Smith. So I watched him. I became number 22 as well in seventh grade, and then played running back, played safety. I wasn't that good. I was fast, but I had no clue. I knew nothing about football. So then going into eighth grade, once again, I was just kind of fast, and that was about it. Played running back again, played safety. Got into high school, and obviously there's a pretty big jump. When you go to eighth grade to high school, even ninth grade, people just get bigger.
Especially in Texas.
Yeah, and I was like not that big. I was like 130 pounds or whatever. So running back wasn't going to work out anymore for me. So I decided to move the receiver, and I couldn't catch a football to save my life. And I knew that, okay, if I can't catch this, I mean, for the rest of my life, I can't catch. So that means I just need to work on it. And then eventually I will be able to do it. So I grabbed the football, and every single night before I went to sleep, I was laying in my bed, and I would throw it up and just catch it with one hand. And then I did it like 100 times in each hand. I did that every single night. There was somebody, I can't remember who it was exactly, but they told me about this drill. Just do that every single night. Just lay in bed and throw it up and catch it with one hand. And I was like, what does that help? Well, one, it helps the muscle memory of your hands to understand where to place your hands on the football to catch it properly. And when you use two hands, one hand will make up for the other. So just use one hand, so the one hand can catch it perfectly. The other hand will catch it perfectly each time. And then once it's time for somebody to throw you a football, like in practice or a game, two hands will know exactly what to do. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. And once I started doing it every night, I went from like a terrible hands kind of receiver to in 10th grade, I was starting at wide out, making touchdown catches, doing like all this great stuff. And I was like, holy crap, that actually worked. And then I was getting bigger, and I was getting faster too as well. Eventually, 11th grade, moved on to varsity. I was playing wide receiver, safety. And my senior year, actually moved to outside linebacker, played that so I could start and play all year. Started at wide receiver as well. And yeah, played that. So got better throughout the years. And then eventually that landed me an opportunity to play for the United States Naval Academy.
That's awesome. Well, outside linebacker receiver combo is a deadly one. So that's
Yeah,
impressive.
I wasn't the biggest outside linebacker. I was probably about 170, 75 pounds. So I wasn't that big. But in high school, it didn't really matter. I was pretty quick off the line, so I could blitz. And so I had actually 6 sacks my
Oh,
senior
nice.
year. And we played 4A football. So, I mean, it's pretty, pretty good football.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I had six
Yeah,
sacks, a bunch of
and
tackles.
Griffin's seeing me smirk right now because you said you weren't good at catching, but then you realize like you're not. That doesn't mean you're always going to be bad at catching. I'm sure that applied throughout your entire life.
Yeah, well,
And
everything. No matter where you're going to start, everybody is a beginner at whatever they're doing at some point, right? I actually saw this it was like this meme or whatever online somewhere, and it showed this little kid just kicking a soccer ball around. The kid was probably like 5 years old, and it literally said everybody at some point is a beginner in their life, and we all are. Some people start off as a pretty good beginner, some people start off as a terrible beginner, but at the end of the day, we all start somewhere, and it's up to you if you want to build up. Like it's like a deck of cards, right? Life is a card game. We all get dealt a certain, amount of cards, certain types of cards, right? Sometimes your hand that you're dealt with to start is great. So your path towards winning is probably a little bit easier. Some people get dealt a terrible set of cards, but doesn't mean there's no rule that says if you're dealt these cards that you're not allowed to win. No, it just means it's just going to be a little bit harder for you to get to the victory.
it's important to say, acknowledge that you got a bad set of hands, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But don't
Yeah.
just focus on your bad hands
Mhm.
and say, "Oh, well, nothing I can do." Right? Like a bad set of cards, that sucks, but it doesn't change your situation. If you focus on that, you're going to be behind the curve. Whereas if you say, "What can I do to improve my station in life?" That's phenomenal advice.
Exactly. You get dealt whatever you're dealt. And then at the end of the day, that moment, at that particular moment, that is the beginning of the rest of your life. You got to look at it like that. Forget whatever else happened, wherever you've been, wherever you've seen, whoever screwed you, whatever it is. At that moment, right now, it is the beginning of the rest of your life. Think of it like that.
So how did you take the cards that you were dealt and turn that into Naval Academy and then NASCAR? I mean, I'd love to hear that part of your story. And, we love
Yeah.
focusing in on the transition from service to what's after service, but we'd love to zoom in a little bit on that part of your journey.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to go play football at the Naval Academy. For me, it was a really good chance to go to a good school, get a great education, play football for a great team. I also ran track there as well. And then one of the most important things for me was really life after college, right? Because a lot of people go into college and play college sports, and sometimes they don't think about what's next. Everybody wants to, of course, go play professional sports, football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, but not everyone's going to make it, right? I wasn't going to make it to the NFL. Like I went into college hoping that maybe that was an opportunity and doing what I could. But as I'm fighting through college, I got to a point where I'm just trying to survive and just get through the academy because it's hard. It's not easy. So, but I set myself up for success by going to the academy so that I had basically a career started for me right when I graduated. I didn't have to go look for a job. I didn't have to go figure out anything else. I knew right when I graduated that for at least 5 years, I was going to get paid money every 2 weeks for those 5 years. And if I wanted to, I could make it last 20 years, 30 years, make it a career. I wouldn't ever have to go do anything else in life. That's what the academy sets you up with. That's an incredible opportunity. So for me, I was like, this is great. So anyways, went there, did that, graduated in 2010, became a surface warfare officer. I was on the ships. I was on two different ships. My first ship I was a minesweeper. Second ship was an amphib. Went on deployments on each one. And both deployments went to the Arabian Gulf. So I spent about 15 months of my life out there in the Arabian Gulf doing that and sailing around, having fun doing that kind of stuff. In between the deployments, when I was coming back home, I was stationed in San Diego. In between those deployments, I was trying to figure out some fun things to do, right? As a 22, 3, 4, 5, 6 year old, there's a ton of fun stuff to do in San Diego, right? I went out all the time, partied all the time. But outside of that, I was a huge car enthusiast. I had a Dodge Challenger. I would take it to the drag strip and do drag racing with it. Any extra money I saved up, I would modify the car and make it really high horsepower and go drag race it some more. I bought a C6 Z06 Corvette. I used to take it to road course tracks and do road course track days. And all this random grassroots motorsports level stuff I was doing really built up my passion and liking for cars and racing. And one day I was sitting in my room in January of 2014, and I was trying to figure out what's like my next big thing. Like, where am I going to go from here? Because the Navy isn't going to be forever for me. It's going to be definitely a decent chunk of my life, but it's not going to be forever. What's next? Like, where do I get that same college football atmosphere that I had when I played at the Naval Academy? I mean, I played in front of I played at Ohio State against Ohio State in front of 107,000 fans. That's what I'm used to. So like, where do I get that again?
And you played
And
at Notre
for
Dame, right? And when you
we
guys beat Notre
played
Dame.
at Notre Dame twice, beat them at Notre Dame twice. I can't remember how many people came to those to both those games, but how many other people came, got to watch Notre Dame get sunk by us, and it was great. But I was like looking for that next big thrill. What was it? And because I was already, doing this whole thing in cars, I was like, why don't I try to become a professional race car driver? And as crazy as it sounded, being at that point when I made that decision, I was like 25 or 26, somewhere in that range. I was way older than what most people are when they're looking to get into racing. Most people, when they're looking to get into racing, they're 5 or 6 years old. I was starting 20 years later than that, but for whatever reason, there was nothing in my mind telling me no. I was just telling myself, yes, that's what I just always do. If I have a vision, I clearly see myself accomplish something and do something, then my mind just continuously tells me, yes, yes, you can keep doing this. Yes, you can actually make it. It's possible. You've seen it. The deal is done. In the future, just don't quit. Keep going forward, no matter what. Action, faith, and help people as much as you can along the way. You'll get there. And that's what I just basically kept telling myself and doing. And I didn't let the dark days bring me down. Like I equate it to building a skyscraper. Anybody who's done any kind of construction of anything in life, you know that the higher you want to go, the deeper you're going to have to dig. And I knew I was trying to build something crazy with this racing goal and dream. So I had to dig as deep as humanly possible. I knew it was going to be tough. So I started grinding. I networked with as many people as I could. I started trying to figure out how to find the funding. Racing isn't cheap. I had to start my own side business while still being in the Navy so I could earn extra money to pay for my racing. I was having to do as many podcasts like this every single day that I could. I had kids like 15 years old reaching out to me like on Instagram or something like that, be like, hey, I have this little podcast thing on YouTube or whatever, and I would love to interview you. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of athletes out there who wouldn't even do it. They wouldn't even be like, oh yeah, that's a waste of time. For me, anybody, I don't care if it was a grandma or a little kid, doesn't matter. If they wanted to interview me, I just took it because I knew it was my opportunity to get out in front of at least one more person. If there's just only one person watched it, didn't matter to me. That's one more person who knew my journey. That one person could potentially lead me on to potential sponsor, business opportunities, you name it. And I kind of just took that mindset of just like constantly just trying to get there before anyone else did. When I was still working my way up the levels of racing. I got into lower level racing and, kind of hammered my way through that and started moving up and up. And as I was going, like people who were in higher levels, they were like, too big, too cool for school. So I'd go to places like Daytona just to go watch the races. I wouldn't even have to level yet. I could race there, but I just go there to watch. But because I was like kind of in the pipeline trying to work my way up, I'd get interview opportunities and I take them. But I take them because other drivers who like were too lazy to wake up early in the morning to go do the 6 a.m. interview, like no one would do it. So I was like, I'll take them. I'll just go do it. And that kind of stuff helped get my story out there and build my name, build my brand, which helped me find funding and sponsorship and things like that. So I could continuously work my way up the different levels of racing. And then on track, I had to teach myself how to drive a race car, right? I bought a simulator at home. I was learning on a simulator every single day. I'd learn on track when I could. I made mistakes on track. I would wreck. I would spin out. I would do all this stuff. But then I came back each day fighting to just have a good day. If yesterday was terrible, tomorrow hopefully is better. And if it's not, guess what? It's going to be better the next day. And that's all I just kept on thinking, no matter how terrible a day went, tomorrow I could potentially have a way better day. Like bad things happen, but guess what? Tomorrow is the beginning of the rest of my life.
Not to take anything away from anybody who does want to become a professional race car driver, but if that's not their goal, take me into your mindset. That's a moonshot kind of goal, right? So if it's not exactly what somebody else wants to do, but they do have this moonshot, like crazy idea, were you thinking, I'm going to make a living with this? Or was this, I'm just going to pursue this passion that I have, and pretty much no matter what happens, I'm just going to think that I enjoyed it? Or like, where was your head at transitioning from the Navy and pursuing something that was so almost impossible to succeed at?
Okay, so what people have to remember is, so yes, I did go after racing. That was like my niche right there, and business stuff too. I became an entrepreneur as well. Both of them had to work together for me to even get here. But what people have to remember is it doesn't even matter what I went to go try to do. It's all the same. At the end of the day, we're all going after a dream or goal. So like when I tell my story about, me getting into racing, I always also like to tell people, hey, like, don't worry about the little finite details of like how I had to do this and that, whatever. That's not it. It's about who you had to become to accomplish something that is seemingly impossible, right? And if you can take that, then you can apply it to anything. So who I had to become and what my mindset had to go through and how I had to grow and expand, like that's what allowed me to do basically anything I want now in life. Like whatever I decide that I can do, I go figure it out and do it, right? So same thing applies in transitioning out of the military, right? Like you got to get your mindset in the right place to understand that you are about to go from one side of life to a completely different side of life, and it's okay, it's possible. Learn where you're going, analyze it. The same thing we do in the military, right? Before we go into any theater, before we go into any operation or whatever, right? We have these briefs beforehand to understand like what's the threat, who's the friendlies, who like where's my help at, how do I get out of a sticky situation, how do I communicate with folks? Like these are all things we do for any type of mission we go on. It's the same stuff you got to do in life. Whatever your next opportunity, your next mission is, you have to take the same exact steps and apply it, right? What's the threats? How am I going to communicate? Who's good? Who's bad? Like all that stuff, you got to apply it. You got to apply the same thing. That's what I did for racing. So I took military knowledge to apply to get my racing career going. And I just kept on applying it one after another. That's what I had to do. So for military members transitioning, right? You're looking at this next opportunity. You're going into a place where people are going to speak a different language than you. In the military, we're used to, depending on which service you're in, you're used to these particular acronyms. You're used to calling this particular job this, or when you do this or do that, or when you have to work with a team saying this, saying that. You're used to speaking a certain language. Now you're going to someplace else where the language is different. Learn that different language. Understand how that language translates over, and also understand how your skills translate over to pertinent things in the civilian world as well. Just because you're carrying around a rifle the whole time as a grunt doesn't mean you're just a grunt. Like you understood how to lead teams of people. You understood how to manage millions and millions of dollars of equipment. How many of us in the military at 18, 19, 20 years old were managing multi-million-dollar assets, and it was all up to us? Like we all had to do that, right? Now you're going into the civilian world and you only got to manage like thousands of dollars of assets. Like we're ready for it already. So understand how to apply the things that you were doing. Just change the language of it, change like what it's called, and understand how you're going to be able to talk about it in the civilian world. And when you can do that, that's how you're going to be the most effective person in your next job, your next line of duty, whatever it is. But you have to understand how to make those changes. We do it all the time in the military. We're switching from command to command every 3, 4, 5 years, and we got to change up what we're learning and doing all the time, because you go to a new command and you're in a new position and you got to do different things. You're going into the civilian world, you got to do different things.
I love how you mentioned you have to become the person that gets what they want. They can overcome obstacles,
That's
get
the
where they
first
want to
step.
go. Yeah.
That's the first step. It's all mindset. It all starts here. I can write down a list of 30 things of, hey, if you want to start a business, this, do this, and that. Yeah, these are all things you like do need to do. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're never going to survive if this doesn't you have to put this in a place where how you become super effective and super dangerous in the field that you're going in is you got to be someone that no matter what, there is no way you will lose. You can get beat up, kicked, screwed, stolen from, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like the only way you will lose is if you get eliminated, like off of this earth. And if you're not going to get eliminated off this earth, then you're going to win. If your mind isn't there, you're going to always get beat, because there's going to be somebody else whose mind's there. It's like, no matter what, I don't care how much more skilled you are. Like, as long as I'm not dead, you're not winning.
And I would argue not only did you become that, but you also tapped into that piece of you that was already going that route. Like you were the kind of person who threw the ball 100 times in each hand every single night. You were the type of person that went out and bought a racing simulator in order to get extra reps because you couldn't afford or didn't have the time to be on the track all the time. Like you were that type of person that just continued to lean into that. And I'm curious, are there any other examples of where you've just taken that step that maybe others wouldn't think about or others wouldn't know to do, to get those extra reps, kind of take that creative approach to just will your way to the finish line?
Yeah, in 2017, I had just transitioned from active duty to the reserves. And at that point, I was obviously right in the middle of kind of making some big jumps in the racing world, going basically from the lower levels of racing to now the national series in NASCAR. So it was a big jump for me, and it cost more and more money. So I was trying to figure out things to do. Well, I was making a transition from active duty to reserves. Now I'm not getting a check every single 2 weeks. Now I need more money. My businesses were making some money, but like enough to help pay for my racing, but not support racing and me living as a human being. So I was like, oh crap, I need a normal job too as well now. So I was able to land a job as the head of marketing and sales for Magnuson Superchargers. And while I was there, it was great, a 6-figure job, making money there and, 9 to 5, whatever. But I was noticing it was taking me away from my goals and dreams. Like I basically saw I was spending the best times of my life, right? So the most crucial moments of my life from I don't know, 7:30, 8 a.m. in the morning till 5, 6 p.m. Like those are fair like times where you can be the most effective. And that time was dedicated towards somebody else's goal and dream. Like the CEO of that company, that was her company, her money. So I was, yeah, she's paying me, but like everything extra I'm doing isn't making me more money. It's only making her more money. So that started clicking a lot. So I'm like, you know what? I need to like keep doing my own thing. So I kept doing what I needed to do there, made them money, but also was like not physically present. I was like going off and doing my own stuff too. This is before like remote working was cool. And they didn't like that. So they're like, hey, you need to like back off from that and like kind of focus more on work here. And I'm like, hey, I'm still making you money. Let me go do my own thing. They didn't want that. And then we split ways. And I basically at that moment started our second business, which was my trucking business, where we have a semi truck that runs Amazon stuff. And I had to start that because I basically wasn't going to be at the other job anymore. But like I had prepared for that moment leading up. Like 3 months prior to that, I saw this whole thing coming. So I was like, I'm starting preparing because I'm about to not have a job here pretty soon. I knew the road was like, we're about to cross. There's about to be a battle. So then to start it, I was waking up. Like, so I would go to work at 8 a.m. each day. I started waking up like an hour or two earlier, like around 5 a.m. or so I could learn the trucking industry. So that's what I did every single day for 3 months. I just woke up 1, 2 hours earlier than normal just to learn. That's what I had to do to get ahead of people. So I tell people when you're going after a goal and dream, whoever you're competing against in that industry, in that line of work, wake up an hour or two earlier than they normally do. That means at the end of the week, you're going to be 7 to 14 hours ahead of them. By the end of the year, you're going to be 365 to 700 and whatever hours ahead of them. Like that every single hour you wake up earlier than other people, you're going to be that much more ahead of them because you're going to be able to maximize your day even better. That's what I had to do.
And to bring it full circle, I mean, you recently, I don't know how recently it was, but you recently announced a partnership with Emmitt Smith. So the running back you started watching, whose number you wore, you now are a partner with. What an incredible turn of events there, incredible conclusion to that story, and obviously still being written.
Yeah, still being written. Yeah, back in 2022, actually, yeah, 2022, we announced that me and Emmitt Smith are coming together to start a team. Actually, we announced it in 2021, but the team actually started in 2022. But I didn't know, I had no clue that I was going to watch him playing football in 1999, be his number, right? 22. And then 22 years later, I was going to be announcing that I was partnering up with the number 22 in
That's
2022
insane.
season. Like, it was like, so yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen, but it happened because I always prepare for the fight I don't even know is coming. That's the key right there. Prepare for the fight you don't even know is coming, which means like I was doing all the right things I needed to do in life so I could get to that point. That shit didn't randomly happen. Like it happened because I have constantly been preparing to be in a successful position. And where that is, I don't know. I could one day freaking own the next Amazon. I don't even know, but I'm trying to do all the things right now so that when something comes up, like I'm there. I'm already ready because I've been doing the right thing. I've been preparing for the fight. I don't even know what's coming.
I mean, it's a great story. I love it. And I think what people need to latch on to is put the effort in.
Yeah.
I think you're probably a really smart guy, obviously. Like you got some baseline capabilities there. Like I already tell you got the IQ right to back it up, but it sounds like you also just put like a manic amount of effort towards whatever your goals were. And that's what anybody can do. Literally, you can be dumb as a box of rocks. And if you put more effort than everybody else, you're going to outperform. And I think, you seem to have both. And that's why you're clearly, crushing life. It's awesome, man. But I think the takeaway for everybody is just figure out the goal, put the effort in to support those goals. And, like what provided you clarity on which goal you wanted to pursue? What led to you being so gung-ho about specific goals that you ended up pursuing?
Yeah, it's all vision, right? So I always tell people like go with whatever that authentic and natural vision is that you have every single day. I think every one of us, we have something we want to go achieve. And like every time you sit down to eat, every time you go do a workout, anytime you're driving, anytime you just woke up or whatever it is, like whatever that main thing is that you want, like it comes to you like all throughout the day. Like we all have that. And that's what I went after. Like racing was it. It just kept coming to me over and over. I didn't know which exact direction in racing, whether it's going to be sports car, NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula racing, whatever it is. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be in racing. But I knew once I started putting the effort towards it and putting energy towards it, eventually it's going to fizzle. I'm going to fizzle my way into whatever path I needed to be in. But I knew that racing was going to be it because it was coming to me naturally every single day. So football, like when I was in high school, like every single day, I just kept imagining myself playing college football. Like I knew it was going to happen. I just had to keep putting effort to it. So whatever that authentic and natural vision is in your mind that comes to you all day long, that is what you got to go after. If it's not coming to you, that means the deal isn't sealed in the future. Like I only go after the visions because they're done. That means it's done already. So I just got to get there.
I love that, man. Well, as we wrap up here, there's a two-part question we ask every guest. It's one ask and one give. So starting off with one ask, what's one way that somebody listening to this could help you?
Yeah, one way somebody listening to this could help me is sponsorship.
Let's go.
Yeah, in the racing world, sponsorship is very big, right? Finding the right partners, brands, people who want to invest in what you're doing because they're going to find some type of mutually benefiting thing out of it. Whether it's branding side of it, whether it's some type of B2B play, there's a lot of different things. And luckily, me and my other partners, we've been able to put together a lot of different stuff, a lot of different tentacles under what we have going on that help us really figure out different B2B plays that can help other companies, other people who just want to make money. So partnerships that help out in the racing, that's probably my biggest ask right there.
Absolutely. And then finally, any last piece of advice or parting wisdom or recommendation for somebody that's transitioning out of the military or considering making that transition?
Yes, if you're transitioning out of the military, once again, understand the language of the sector that you're wanting to potentially go into. And really that sector is just civilian life period. It's not coding or this, and it's just straight up civilian life. Understand how to translate what you've been doing into what they want. You've been doing what they want. You just need to understand how to articulate that to them. If you don't spend the time to understand that, you're going to get effed. So understand that. Understand that I led this squad, right? Okay, that squad or fire team or whatever it is, platoon, they don't know what that means. So to them, be like, hey, I led a whatever they would call a platoon or whatever. Understand how to translate that, and then that will make you effective. And that's how you're gonna go slide in. And relationships are huge, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. So the more people that like you, the more you're gonna get places. Don't be an a-hole.
Well said. Well, thanks for doing this, Jesse. This has been great, man. I've been thinking the whole time that I'm sure there's quite a few kids out there that are either watching what you do or watching what you will do that one day, maybe 22 years from now will be the Emmitt Smith moment that you had, but you'll be in the Emmitt Smith seat at that point. So keep up the amazing work, man. Love watching your stuff. And thanks for taking the time to have this conversation today.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Veteran Ventures Podcast. If you heard something interesting or found the show to be helpful, send it to a friend who is transitioning out of the military or considering a transition. We'd also really appreciate if you left a rating and review of the show. That helps us reach more people with these amazing stories of successful veterans. We'll catch you next time on the Veteran Ventures Podcast. And until then, go do the thing. Make that decision, have that conversation, and go find your next mission.